Hello, 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 spirits of light. Good morning. I have me some Starbucks, and you can see that it's melted because I found myself kind of thinking this morning. It's one of those mornings that I start to go into my deep thoughts, and things just be running across my mind. And I know I haven't done a story time in a long time now. And I think that this morning would be a great time to tell you about what happened when my grandmother died. I did put on makeup because I feel good and I don't feel emotional. But, when I start to go back into time, I can feel and see everything that has happened. Oh my God. Okay. I'll be glad when I get to a point that I can tell you a story of some things that has happened in my life where it's not so emotional for me. And I think the reason why I'm so emotional when it comes to my life is because I haven't really dealt with it. I just kind of learned to move forward because that is the best thing to do in anything that you do. I can rub my face this morning. You can see because I haven't even put on moisturizer. I have my Shea moisturizer right here. And I was going to put that on this morning. Matter of fact, I'm still going to put it on. I'm just going to dry my face out. But I am going to tell the story because just thinking about it, I can feel it this morning. I do things by the spirit, so it's meant for me to tell it today. Today is the 27th. I don't know if I'll be able to get it up today because I'm still learning my Imac computer. Yeah. And then I have some Shea moisturizer, coconut and hibiscus brightener body lotion. I love this lotion. I'm going to change the subject just a little bit so I can kind of come back down, okay? Because I think it just went up there like too fast with the emotions, thinking about the story that I'm about to tell. I love this lotion. Shanice gave this to me, my spiritual daughter. When I think about Shanice, I can do nothing but smile. She's in New York, living out her dreams. She's starting her business. She's going to visit her mom. She's just enjoying life a little bit. She went through a learning curve, and now she's living in her moment, and I'm happy for her. But she left me this body lotion. I haven't done the vlog yet, but you'll see it inside of the vlog. And one of the things I want to say, if you're new to my channel, welcome. And for my special spirit of light that watch my story time, if any of you watch my vlogs, you'll kind of catch little bits or pieces of me in each thing that I do. So if you watch my ASMR videos and all of a sudden you'll see me buying that product or somebody giving me that product or how I achieved that product. So I leave a little piece of myself in every single video. So if you only watch story time, you miss a lot, And then if you only watch the ASMR videos, like the eating videos, you miss a lot too. And that's okay, whatever part that you connect to is what was meant to be. I'm going to be doing hard candy in this video. I picked this up from Marshalls. This candy is so pretty to me. Like, I love the way this candy looks. Oh, look at that. Oh, it's got the orange and lemons in there. But I also look like I see like cherry. Even though it don't says it on the pack, it looks like it says that. I mean, it looks like that's what's in there, cherry too. But I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, I'm going to be doing some hard candy and maybe a little crinkling. I may touch on the package a little bit like this. And I will start on the hard candy as soon as I finish my coffee because my mocha frappe this morning was pretty strong. And what's so crazy is I said to myself, well, I'm kind of glad that it's strong because it'll give me that kick that I need to be able to get through my story, you know? I'm hoping that something in me kick where I could tell my story and not feel so emotional. Oh my God. But, you know, if you've been rolling with me, you know, I mentioned that my grandmother dying was my first heartbreak in my entire life. Like, that's when I knew what a heartbreak was. All the ice is gone. My son had this gift on my birthday. And I will load that vlog. I'm gonna load the last part of the vlog so that you can see the rest of the gifts that I had got on my birthday. But this was definitely one of them. And it's a clock, okay? If you guys notice, in none of my videos you see me with a watch. I never wear a watch. I never ever wore a watch. When my grandmother passed, I felt like time stopped. So a watch for me is not gonna happen. I just feel like you know, I didn't want to think about time. Think about how long she's been gone and how long I gotta live without her. You know, so time literally stopped for me. And my son gave me this right here, this clock. And I thought it was so cute. And every time I look at it, it takes me back. Oh my God, it takes me back to when my grandmother died. And I said, oh my God, why is this clock bothering me? It's bothering me because that's when time kind of stopped for me. My daughters gets on me because they say that I have no clock. I live timeless. And that's absolutely true. And that can get you in trouble. I have gotten in trouble for living timeless, you know. But after this video, I am going to do a makeup tutorial because I am going to go get an oil change and I got a few errands to run. And I need to get some fresh air because I'm feeling mentally stressed. And when I get like this, I have to find a way to bring myself back, you know. So yeah, I'm definitely going to do some things today to forget about my head right now. My head has got so many things going through it right now. Victoria's Secrets. And this belongs to my daughter. Well, it did belong to my daughter, Latoya. She left it behind and she gave it to me. I thought it was so cute when I first got it. I was squeezing it. I was like, it's not coming out. Why it's not coming out? She told me I was doing it wrong. But yeah, it smells so good. You know, smells give you that calm, you know, especially if you like Okay, so let me start this story off by saying I had received a phone call um, on my birthday. It was from my Uncle Keith. And I was so excited to hear from him because my Uncle Keith is next to my father. And my father is gone, rest in peace. And he reminded me so much of my dad, you know. And when I think about Uncle Keith, my heart just fills with joy. And he's the key on what's left for me to my grandmother. And I do have another uncle, you know, but the only one that I'm really, really tight and the one that I really feel like really truly loves me is my Uncle Keith. He said, "Neat, happy birthday." He started singing to me. It was just so wonderful. And he asked me, he says, "What's going on, Neat? What you gonna do today?" So I told him everything that I was gonna do and everything. And then I said, "You know, Uncle Keith, I want to talk to you about something. I have been holding how I feel about my grandmother's children since I've been 12 years old." And my Uncle Keith, I told him that I don't want him to feel like I don't love him and that I'm angry with him because I've forgiven him a long time ago. But I needed to get this off my chest. And I'm damn near 50. And Lord forbid, I don't want to die with feeling, you know, that I needed to say what I need to say. And basically, I needed to be my grandmother's voice. Okay. When I was 12, my grandmother she was diagnosed with cancer. Okay. Forgive me. Okay. Let me get together. Okay. Was diagnosed with breast cancer. Okay. She was a really, really big woman. Matter of fact, she wasn't that big. She was bigger than I am now. And I'm a thick woman. I'm a very thick woman, but she was a big woman. You know, one of them women that hug you and they just feel like their whole body hug you. That was my grandmother. And she got to the point where she weighed 90 pounds. And when I saw her, I knew that something was wrong. She had requested that my father brings me to the house to see her. And so when my father came and got me, I thought that I was on my way back down to North Carolina to spend time with my grandmother, but I wasn't. He took me to an apartment building in Newark, New Jersey. And it was like the tall apartment buildings down there, like on Broad Street, Clinton Avenue. I can't remember exactly, but I know the area. And I found out that it was my uncle's, Jackie's apartment. And that she was basically there because she needed to see doctors, okay? And I was so overjoyed to see her, but she was in the bed. And normally she opens up the door and she sees me, she gives me this big old hug and lift me up and all of that. This time she was frail and she was just in the bed. And she told me to sit next to her. My mom told me she's going to leave with my dad. My dad had to go to work and my mom needed to go back home, but I was going to stay with my grandmother for a few days. And I did. And in that house for a few days, no one showed back up. Now, my grandmother has a lot of children. She had 2 girls and my Uncle Keith, Frank, Dwight, Jackie, Shorty. 5 sons. 5 or 6. I might be forgetting somebody. Forgive me if I am. But yeah, she had all those children, and they were all grown at the time. And my dad is the oldest child. So the couple of days I was there, I fixed soup, whatever I could find in the kitchen cabinet. I did the best I could. And then one morning, I got up and my grandmother basically just was laying there sick. And I asked her, was she hungry? She said no. She needed me to help her change her bags. And she had the bags that hooks up to your urine and hooks up to your digestive system. And I was a kid, so when I first saw that, it frightened me to death. Like, what the freak, And my grandmother said she needed me to help her. So she taught me what to do. She told me what to do, and I helped her. And she told me, she said, has anybody come yet? Has anybody come yet? Has anybody brought any food? So I started calling around, trying to find any and everybody that would come and bring food. And so I called my mom, and she didn't answer the phone. And I was going to tell her that I've been with my grandmother the whole time with no food in the house. I was really, really hungry. And whatever I did find, it wasn't enough for 2 people. So I was trying to go without and just like give it to my grandmother because I felt like she was so sick and that she needed it. Now, my grandmother was married to my grandfather for a long time until he died. And the children, my grandmother, my father, and his siblings, they all lived in a house. They all had cars. By the time he was 16, my grandmother was very nurturing, very loving, and she didn't believe in drinking or drugs, So as a little girl, I remember how wonderful my grandmother was. So I couldn't understand where were her kids. Why weren't nobody bringing her no food? Why weren't nobody tending to her? And why did they leave me with her? And I'm only 12 years old, and I literally was just already shocked at the fact that she wasn't the same grandmother that I knew when I showed up. I'm gonna go ahead and put this shea moisturizer on real quick. Yeah, I didn't have anything on my face. I washed it this morning and this feels good. Okay. Me and my grandmother had really, really long talks. And she said to me, she said, "Baby, could you go make me some green tea?" And I went to the kitchen. I didn't find any tea. And I did find one tea bag, but it wasn't green tea. And I came back and I said, "Grandma, it's only one tea bag." And she said, "Make me some tea. I just want something hot against my mouth." And I said, "Okay." So I went to the kitchen and I made her some soup. And I didn't have like sugar. I had no lemon. I had nothing, but I was trying to make sure that I did good enough with the tea that she would like it. And I sat next to her, and she said to me, Let me try this one. Oh. Okay. She said to me, when you leave here from me, you're going to walk this earth alone. And she said, don't look back. Keep moving forward, and you're going to find your life in your way. Now, at the time, I was thinking, what? I'm going to walk alone. This is what my grandma tells me. And then she tells me, don't ever drink. Don't ever do drugs. Don't do anything that's going to take you away from what you're going through, or ease your mind to make the correct decision. And I was just, at the time, I listened to her, but you know, sometimes things go out of one ear and come out the other, and then later on you can hear them saying it to you. That's how it was for me. So, she told me she was hungry. So I started calling around again. Nobody showed up. I called my father. He didn't return my call. All of them, Uncle Keith included, Uncle Frank included, Jackie. It was his apartment, and he didn't even come home. Now, as a little girl, you know they try to keep things from you, because you may not understand exactly what's going on. But I knew some things weren't right. I didn't understand. Like, my grandfather's not here. My grandmother took care of everybody, and now she's got cancer. She's sick. And at the time, I didn't even know she was dying. Like, I didn't even understand. Like, I knew she was sick, but I didn't know she was dying. So on the third day that I was with her, I woke up that morning, she didn't feel good. She was in pain, and the bags had, it was just a mess. Everything was just a mess. It was terrible. I was trying to clean her up. And she said, baby, she said, call the ambulance and call your mom to come get you. And she told me to give her a hug. So I hugged her, and she said, and I said, can I come back later? And she said, just remember what I told you. Don't look back. She said, you're exactly like me. You'll always be there for others, and no one's going to be there for you. And I remember exactly mostly how it went. Most of my life, I don't know if it went that way because I believe what she said, or that what she said helped me because I was able to survive life. And you know what? I wish I could hold back the tears, but I'm not going to hold it back. And this might be emotional, so if you can't take emotions, you probably should not watch this story. So, it get worse from here. Like, seriously. Get out now while you can. You know. So, when my mom showed up, I asked my mom, can we just go to the hospital with my grandmother? And my mom said, no. We're going to go back home. I was thinking to myself, I didn't like some of the things that my grandmother said to me. Yeah, I need to understand exactly what she meant. So I asked my mom in the car ride home. I said, Mom, can you maybe take me to the hospital later? I really need to talk to my grandmother. And she said, girl, don't worry me to death. Your grandmother gonna be all right. You're not gonna worry me to death. Oh, I gets to my mom's house and I felt empty. I felt weird. My sister were outside playing, and my mom had mail company. She always had a mail song in her life, just always. But and they was in the kitchen talking and flirting and playing. I went in the kitchen and I was like, Mom, did my grandmother call yet? She said no. I said, can I call my dad to find out what's going on? She said no. I came back in the kitchen. I said, Mom, I don't feel good. Can you please take me to the hospital? Please, please. And she said, no, don't you see I got company? I said, my grandmother's in the hospital. I need you to take me right now. I need you to be responsible. My mother told me, if you don't go in that room and lay your tail down, I'm going to lay you out. That's what she said. I was through, man. I was so mad. I went in the room and I put my back up against the wall and I slid down on the floor. I had a little skirt on. I lift my two little legs. I was so small. I lift my legs up and I climbed up, put my arms on my legs like this. And I started tapping my fingers and my feet. And all of a sudden, I screamed. I screamed to the top of my lungs. I couldn't stop screaming. I was screaming and screaming. It was a screeching scream. And then the phone rang. And my mom didn't pick up the phone right away. She said, what's the matter with you? Why are you screaming like that? Stop it, stop it. And I just was screaming. I couldn't stop screaming. And I heard my mom finally pick up the phone and say hello. And this was only like an hour later. Maybe 1 hour later. I heard the phone hang up. And I stopped screaming. And my mother came in the room. She said she's gone. You know, people pass all the time and people get over it and they do well with it. But my grandmother is my only link to love. I learned unconditional love through her. I don't even know if I would have ever knew what love truly felt like if I didn't get a chance to have my grandmother, if I didn't know her. Because the cards that I was dealt for my life, love was not included. That's one of the things that I live by. I live by love because love is powerful. Love can change a person's life. Love feels good. Love heals. And I can honestly say that I never felt a love ever before like the way my grandmother loved me. The closest love that I feel is from my children. I feel like her love somehow radiated through them, even though they never got to meet her or know her. I give my children what my grandmother gave to me. I remember how she talked to me, how she rubbed my back, how she held me. So I try to put that same love out, to my children, to people I meet, and people I talk to. When my mother told me that my grandmother was gone, I went silent. And I laid on the floor and I just hold myself. I knew that some things were going to take place. I knew something was coming. I knew it. Now that my grandmother was here to protect me, I was trying to brace myself. Now, on the day of the funeral, all her children showed up. All of them. They had my grandmother in a pretty dress. It was so pretty. Kind of like this color, but lighter. I think this is why this is one of my favorite colors, because it's the color my grandmother was buried in. People came from all over to her funeral. It was packed. It was going out the door. They were hollering, screaming, hoopling and hee-hawing, And I remember just staring at different people in slow motion. Her children, family members, friends, talking about how beautiful she was of a person and how much they were going to miss her. People were laid out on the floor crying. I got out my chair. It was so weird because the preacher who was praying over my grandmother, they preach and then everybody walk up and they get in line and they go see the body. Everything went silent for me. And while he was talking, I couldn't hear nothing he was saying. I walked over people, moved on the side, trying to get over from people who was laid out on the floor crying. I hear her children, "Mama, Mama," crying. And I just went to the casket. And I remember somebody trying to pull me back, saying that I couldn't go up there. When I look back, like, no, you ain't talking to me. You can't tell me I can't go to the casket. I just pulled my arm a little way, and I pulled my little arm out the way, and I walked up to the casket. And I said goodbye to my grandmother. And while I was standing there, everything she said to me started penetrating. I understood everything that she said to me. And I remember driving home in the backseat of the car from the funeral, just watching the houses, the streets, the trees, the roads, everything. I remember feeling so disconnected. I was hurt that my grandmother died, and then I was angry because she died sad. Her own children were not there for her. They were not there for her. And knowing that, I had this, like, towards my family ever since. Like, I'm cool with them, but I remember what they did. I know what they did. I went to my mom when we got home from the funeral. And I said, Mom, how come you didn't answer the phone when I called you? She said, I was busy. I said, but the whole time I stayed with my grandmother, you never answered none of my calls. You never called back. She said, I ain't got an answer to you. I said, my grandmother was hungry and she was sick and none of her kids came. She said, like that. And I was just standing there staring at her. She was like, why are you staring at me like that? She was like, oh, you ain't got your grandmother now. I said, dang, let me stop staring. About to get so up. So I definitely didn't question my mother anymore. And then because of my mother's reaction, I never said anything to anybody else, not even to my dad, how I felt. So go way back up to current. On the day of my birthday, my uncle keep calling me. Like I said earlier in the story. And I told him what happened on the day that my grandmother died and how I was upset with how his sisters, my father, brothers, or how they treated my grandmother. And, you know, I've always been cool with my Uncle Keith, but I would never tell him how I felt. I didn't know if this was going to put a damper in our relationship or if it was going to go all the way left or if he was going to curse me out. But I told him, that I hear him talk so beautiful about my grandmother. He always tell me all these wonderful things about her and how he missed her and how he missed her voice and how I look so much like her and how I'm just like her. So I had to tell him, I said, Uncle Keith, why did y'all do that to her? Did you know your mother was hungry for 3 days? Did you know I was left with her with no food in the house? Nothing to drink? I said, did you know that she wasn't really clean because I only could do but so much? And he said, I'm sorry. He said, Neat, if we messed up, we did. He said, all of us. He said, we were all young adults, and we were all living our own life. We all chose to kind of live our life and not be there for our mother. And he said, I kind of had a feeling that one day you was going to say something. I said, Uncle Keith, I love you. I just wanted you to know that I know what y'all did. And I told him that my grandmother took care of the whole family. She was the glue. She should have never died that way. I told him, for some reason, the reason why this birthday bothered me so bad is because I'm close to the age that my grandmother died. I'm this age, she was my age when she passed. My grandbaby is 11, and I was 12. My grandbaby still has me, and I've lost my grandmother. And my uncle asked me to forgive him. Can you forgive me for my mother? Because my mom is not here for me to say I'm sorry. And I said, oh, Keith, I forgave you a long time ago. I just wanted you to know that I know what y'all did. And then it got real quiet. And he said, Neat, I love you so much. He said, I regret what I did to my mom. Even though she passed, it's amazing how every second and every moment that you grew up, you're her. And we're all reminded of our mother. Now, my dad passed, and I never got to tell him how I feel. Now, my other uncles, I have my aunt, one of my aunts has passed. I never got to tell her. Let me tell you, I have an aunt. I tried many, many times to contact her. She won't call me back. I think because I remind her too much of her mom. She just can't deal with it. And then I have other uncles. And the same way that they let their mother down, they left me behind. You never thought about me twice, and it never came for me. But then a whole lot of years has passed during the time that my grandmother had passed. And one day, I was about I was about 30, okay? I ain't seen nobody in my grandmother family. Like I seen them in spurts, like ran into them by mistake, and like maybe just a handful of times. And I never seen anybody like together. I was married and I was in Virginia, Chesapeake, Virginia, and me and my husband decided to go to a movie theater. Now, this is my second husband. Y'all know I've been married twice. My second husband, we decided to go to a movie theater. And I kept feeling somebody staring at me. And the movie theater's dark. I'm dark skinned. You can't see me in no dark movie theater. So, and my Uncle Keith, he's like the color of that refrigerator. He's that beautiful black, okay? I come from out of the shadow of the dark, and this man staring at me like he saw a ghost. A ghost. And then I'm looking at this man, and I'm like, wait a minute. You know, like my dad. I walk up to him. We walking up to each other. He said, "Oh my God, Nick." And he just started holding me and hugging me so tight. And me and my uncle been tight ever since. I ain't see him again from the age of 12 until I was 30. But now we tight as buttons. And his wife that he was married to at the time kept staring at me, and she said, she never even met me. And she said, oh my God, you look exactly like his mother. She was like, this is scary. And me and his wife became friends. And they hung out at my house, and me and my uncle we just started living our life together like we love each other. I love him to pieces. I love him to pieces. But yeah, that's the end of my story. And I hope that you enjoyed it. And what I want to say is, nobody's perfect. Everybody has a story. And people do things and they live to regret it, So if you can just take a moment and think about your surroundings and the people that you love, if they left here today, what would you do different? What would you